I'm Caitlin Matson. This is the Green Room. Dr. Timothy Shade is here with me. Now, he is a musician, but he wears many hats. He is a professor at Wichita State University. He is involved with the Wichita Symphony Orchestra, youth concerts, youth
Uh-huh.
ensembles, and he is one of the founders and the conductor of the Wichita Wind Symphony.
That's correct. Hi there, Caitlin. How are you?
Well, I'm well. If there were a camera in the control room about 5 minutes ago, everybody would just be howling. The comedy of errors I just went through to
That's
try to
right.
get on the air has me out of breath.
But we're here. We made it. That's great. We got it. It's awesome.
There were cameras on the floor and speakers not working, but we persevered.
We've conquered technology for today. That's always a
Yes.
big win.
So the Wichita Wind Symphony, this has been your second season, correct?
Second full season. That's right. It started in the summer, so we're about to kick off season three here in May. Yeah, it's amazing to think that it's been going that long.
And you are pretty much just filled with professional musicians, but it is a volunteer ensemble.
At this point, yes. Yeah, the we say our cohort is local professionals, music educators, and qualified amateurs. But yeah, they are not compensated for their performances right now. We're working on that. We did get 501(c)(3) status recently, which is really, really great. So we're hoping that that helps bolster our ability to apply for grants and additional funding as necessary. But they're currently just performing for the love of it, which is so unbelievably incredible. I really could not overstate it enough.
There are all sorts of different genres of ensembles. You have a symphony, you have a chamber ensemble, you have a string orchestra, and then you have a wind symphony or a band.
Yeah,
It's another
yeah.
way of saying band, yeah?
It is. It is another way of saying band. Wind Symphony, I guess, is just a little more eloquent, right? It's just a little bit more, I guess, pretty in its way. But
It
it's
is
funny.
pretty.
It kind of come from we in the I guess in the 80s we kind of started talking about the wind ensemble or a symphonic wind ensemble or a symphonic wind orchestra actually to relate it a bit more to established ensembles that people understood. But in reality, yes, we only consist of wind and brass instruments, so woodwinds and brass and percussion, no strings.
Yes. There's a why do you think there might be a tendency, and I think it might just be misinformation. We were talking about the elegance of it being called a wind symphony. Calling it a wind symphony gives it, I don't know, you would think it, people might think it elevated to a different level.
Yeah.
Why do we put band and an orchestra on uneven footing? Why aren't they balanced? Why don't we think of them the same?
It's a great question. I hesitated to call, some people will say that band is akin to a four-letter word, and it could be because that I think the connotation of it being related to either something that's either more commercial or maybe not as artful is sort of I think why it has that connotation at times. But in reality, the band is incredibly versatile, and you kind of alluded to it already. And I think that there was that push, like I said, it might have even been before the 80s, that we were really trying to establish a wonderful concert repertoire of music written by the same composers that were writing for orchestra that just decided to write for an ensemble of winds and percussion. And so it was trying to get out of this idea of a concert band being something that was clumsy or a bit uncouth, that was playing tunes that weren't as sophisticated as the orchestra. I think that's the genesis of it. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really 100% true, but in my reading and writing through my dissertation projects, that's kind of what I found as
I'm,
well.
I mean, you're the doctor.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, you
not,
would know.
uh-huh. I wish I was a medical doctor and or something like that, but yeah, doctor of music gets me just a little bit more street cred.
Yes, it does. Yes. Well, the Wichita Wind Symphony, your very next performance, it's March the 29th at 7:30 at the Eugene Hughes Metropolitan Complex.
Yep.
Uh, Swingin', singin', and stompin'. What are you performing for us on this concert?
Yeah, so this concert actually is going to be kind of about music related to jazz and or influenced by jazz and sort of commercial repertoire like that. And we've always kind of been doing crossover repertoire. That's something that's very important to us. And so we're thinking about Blue Shades by Frank Kelly. And actually, that is something that had established itself a while ago. And so we're looking forward to doing that. A wonderful piece by Arturo Marquez. It's sort of interesting that we're talking about symphony orchestra. He wrote a piece called Danzón Number 2 that's been transcribed for winds. That's really, really a lot of fun. A little bit of Porgy and Bess by George Gershwin, a piece by Ryan George, a contemporary piece for winds called Riff Raff, and then The Low Down Brown Get Down by Omar Thomas. So a really kind of fun array of music that will just kind of get the audience thinking about moving their feet and dancing and singing. And so that's kind of where the title came from.
That's great. We're going to take a short break and listen to the Overture to Candide with the United States Marine Band. And we'll be back and we'll talk more with Dr. Timothy Shade about the Wichita Wind Symphony. The orchestra, the overture to Bernstein's Candide with the United States Marine Band. I'm Caitlin Matson, and this is The Green Room. Joining me in the green room is Dr. Timothy Shade. He is the conductor of the Wichita Wind Symphony. Their next performance is March 29th at 7:30. The Eugene Hughes Metropolitan Complex is where that is taking place. Timothy, you have concerts all around the city, it seems. It seems like every time we talk, your concert's in a new place.
That's right. Our home base has been on the campus of Wichita State University in Miller Concert Hall. And as one might imagine, there are events that sometimes would get in the way of that. And we don't own it. We're a guest there, even though I'm affiliated with Wichita State. And so moving over to the Hughes Metroplex is a nice venue as well. And I assume you might be referring to another event that we had earlier this week, or actually last week, excuse me, where we played at the Kansas Music Educators Association in-service workshop down at Century 2. And yeah, that was a lot of fun too. A much different venue than Miller Concert Hall or the Hughes Metroplex for that matter.
And did you have a lot of students in the audience for that one?
I don't know. I know we had a whole bunch of music educators. I can't remember the exact number, but it's a confluence of all around the state that come to the in-service workshop. And where our time was, we were in the afternoon on a Thursday. I think there was around 250 or 300 for sure in the audience. And it's open to the public, but it's mostly for the attendees of that conference, which is really, really great. And so I know that some of our students were there, but it was more for the adults. And that's you apply to perform there, which is really, really great. And so they chose to allow us that opportunity to perform for educators around the state, which is really phenomenal.
Would you admit that perhaps it makes you a bit more nervous than usual performing in front of your colleagues than it would an audience of friends and family?
That's a great point. I mean, I don't know more nervous. I think that the mission might be a little different, right?
Ah,
That's how I might describe it. When we're for a home audience, I think our mission is entertainment, maybe purely. And so my concept of what we're programming is also art, but then I want to make sure that maybe they're aware of some of the tunes on the program and can attach something to it. When we're programming or playing or performing for an audience of educated musicians, yeah, you're right. I think the intensity turns up, but then it's also we're thinking about pushing the envelope. What is our goal as far as the messaging of the repertoire that we're performing? And so the program that we put together was based upon sort of nature. The four tunes had sort of a through connected concept there, and that was, I think, what was really powerful. And so the ensemble definitely was turned up, I think, to perform for their friends and family, their colleagues in a different way, yeah, than they would just for their family. Absolutely.
tell us a bit about your work with Wichita Youth Symphonies. You have been associated with the Wichita Youth Orchestra ensembles for a couple of years now, but you're stepping into a new position, is that right?
That's correct. I can't remember. I mean, this might be year 5, maybe, of the conducting the Youth Wind Ensemble through the Youth Symphony program, which I thought was a wonderful addition that was started, and that's been a great sort of addition to that. And just sort of this spring, I started as the Youth Symphony conductor, which is that top symphony orchestra in the organization, which I'm very humbled and elated to have that opportunity after a search process this past fall. And so yeah, we have our concerts coming up this weekend, which is amazing. So all six ensembles involved with the Youth Symphony program will put on their concerts this Saturday and Sunday at Century 2. So it's quite a extravaganza, if you will, of orchestral and wind music coming
It
your way.
sh it sure is. I was born and raised in central Kansas. I was actually a member of Wichita Youth Symphony when I was in high school. Back
Yeah.
in that day, I'm not going to say exactly how many years ago it was, but back in my day, there were only two. You had the youth
Uh-huh.
orchestra, and they call it the repertory orchestra.
That's
That was
right.
it. And to see
Mhm.
how much it has grown over the decades is phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just a testament to how much great music educating is going on in our area. That we have, two full orchestras and then two string orchestras, and then two concert bands at this point, the wind ensemble and the youth concert band. And that there is that much interest from our young people and supported by the music education and the city. I think that is just it's I don't know other word than phenomenal. I mean,
Mhm.
music education, we kind of hear the word that maybe it's waning or maybe there's not as much interest in the arts from young people.
Nah.
Not true. Not true when you see that many young people engaging in music this way. Yeah.
No, and I think more than ever, and I think it probably has to do with easy access to,
Mhm.
any sort of media.
Right.
I think more than ever, and younger than ever, kids are seeking out music as a form of expression or escapism or mental health or to find
Right.
community. And I think it's reflected in how they get involved, at the school in their music
Mhm.
groups and in their
Yeah.
theater.
Well, I mean, I tell the students almost every week that I see them, thank you so much for being here. You're giving your own time away from what you do in your day to day to come and work on music. I mean, what greater mission could there be that they're saying, I love this enough that I want to spend my free time focusing with a group of people that I don't see all the time, which then, of course, enhances their interpersonal relationships, but also their individual musicianship, which then goes back to their home programs. I mean, it's just a wonderful sort of circular process that happens. And yeah, the escapism is the best part. Just for a little while, we get to forget about all the other things and
Mhm.
focus on deep, deep, powerful music making and just have a lot of fun. And the students love it. I mean, and of course I do. I wouldn't do it otherwise.
We've been talking with Dr. Timothy Shade, who is not only the conductor of the Wichita Youth Symphony, and they have their concerts this weekend in Century 2 Concert Hall. And for more information on those performances, go to wichitasymphony.org. He is also the conductor of the Wichita Wind Symphony, and they have a performance March 29th at 7:30 at the Hughes Metropolitan Complex. Thank you for the time you gave today. It's always wonderful to speak with you and come back whenever you like.
Oh, thanks so much, Caitlin. Great to speak with you.